Hi everyone, Jo and Violin here. I hope you're all doing well during lockdown. Today, as you can see, no violin. I just wanted to give you my 3 top tips for how to practice your instrument. I'm sure all of you are being told every day by your teachers, your parents, go and practice, go upstairs and practice, do 20 minutes. And practice is a really vital part of playing an instrument, as I'm sure you all know. But it can be a bit of a bugbear to find the time for it and to just have the motivation to want to go and practice. So what does it actually mean to practice? It might just be a case of going through the motions to you and playing the pieces that you've been set and the scales that you've been set. But let me give you 3 helpful tips, if I can, which might make practicing a little bit easier. You can apply this to any instrument, not just the violin. So first things first, when you start practicing, make sure you've got your setup right. So make sure your posture's good. In the case of the violin, nice square body, comfortable position. You've got enough room to practice in with your instrument, whatever that instrument may be. Just check you've got everything comfortable in your hand, that in the case of the violin, that your wrist is away from the instrument, not a flat wrist, that your bow hold is happy. And then we can get going. Once you've just done your little checklist of things for your instrument, and make sure you've got a decent music stand as well. I always say that to my students. Don't practice on the arm of the settee or scrunched up, sitting down on the corner of a bed. Forget that. So make sure you set aside the time and the space around you to play. So you've got a quiet space, music stand, instrument, all good, and enough space, okay? My advice with practice is to do small, focused chunks of practice. Okay, so I would recommend 3 things. First things first, after you've done all your checks, let's start with some scales. Scales and arpeggios. All right, so this applies to all instruments, and you may ask, why these scales? Why do I have to keep playing these scales? And basically, my answer to you is that scales are the building blocks of music. So they're essential to all pieces of music. Every piece of music is in a different key, and you can figure out where to put the sharps and flats on your instrument, and get accustomed to playing in different keys with different scales. And as you go through the grades, you'll gradually learn more and more scales, and you'll build up your knowledge of keys. Some people find it a bit of a burden to keep playing scales, but it might feel a bit like going swimming. You never really fancy it, but once you're in the pool and you've done it, you feel a lot better for it. So keep on with those scales and arpeggios. Also, you use them to practice technical things. That they serve a purpose in that regard as well. So play a nice simple scale and just use it to practice a nice smooth bow in the case of the violin, or just really careful listening in the case of any instrument. Use it to just attune your ear at the start of a practice session, and play them slowly. Don't rush through them. And try to play them musically as well. Try to learn to love them and give them a phrase so that they go up the scale and then down again in a nice gentle phrase, almost like a piece of music. Make them musical, and don't stop using your ears. So you just use them to home in on your tuning at the start of each practice session. Second thing, your pieces. So my advice for pieces, try not to keep playing the whole piece through. It's really tempting to do it. And each time you play it, you put in the same old mistakes, and you think, oh, I always do that bit wrong, or I always go wrong at that corner there. So each time you go wrong, force yourself to stop halfway through that piece and focus on the bar or 2 bars or however many bars it may be that always trip you up each time. And I play a little game with myself when I'm doing these kind of things. So play the bar 3 times perfectly in a row. So play it once. Yeah, you can play it a bit slower if you want, a bit under tempo, just to really work on it. And then play it twice. And then if the 3rd one goes wrong, nope, start again. So go back to 1 again until you've done 3 really good tries of that little corner, and then move on. And again, stop at the next stumbling point. And once you know where the typical bits are where you often go wrong, you can just start your practice with those. Just home in on them. Play them 3 times perfectly, play them slowly, and conquer them. And then that will save you a lot of trouble, and you won't have to keep using all your energy to play through the whole piece each time. Okay, so the last thing is with your pieces, don't forget to perform them occasionally. So performing a piece makes you think in a whole different way. You have to focus more on dynamics, making them interesting, and conveying something to your listener. So you'll have to provide the popcorn, but make sure you take your piece every now and then when you feel like you've got it, and play it to whoever's in the house, or a neighbour or friend, and say, I'm going to play you a little concert, and actually perform the piece. Okay, that's what music's all about, isn't it? Bringing happiness to other people and showing people what you've done as well, what you've learned. The third thing on my list is improvisation. To improvise means to make up your own music. So don't feel that you're restricted to all the dots that you're provided with. You don't have to always open up your book to tune number 16, this and that page. Every now and then, just realise that you as a musician can create as well. So I challenge you to either give yourself a rhythm, and a simple rhythm, and then just start to play using that rhythm and see where it leads you, take you on a musical journey. Alternatively, you can think about a scene or a story, and make up a piece of music with that in mind, and you can perform that as well. But this is just for yourself, to show that you are creative too, and you can have musical ideas, and you can explore your instrument more in that way as well. They're my 3 tips for a good practice session. Take care.